I'm a little disappointed in you, America. Yes, you, America. Because nobody's talking about Egypt. Egypt. You know, the place with the pyramids. Egypt. It's a big deal. You know, there's only three reasons that I can think of that people aren't talking about Egypt. Either, one, they don't know anything about it. Number two, they don't really understand what's going on. Or number three, they don't care. And I'm really hoping that it's not number three, because if you don't care, then you're not American. That's right, I said it. You're not American. If you don't know what's going on in Egypt, the Muslims are revolting. That's right, the Muslims, the ones that you've been scared of since September 11th. Remember September 11th when, you know, the planes hit the towers and our country was attacked? Remember that, like 10 years ago? And overnight everyone became scared of Muslims, like terrified of Muslims. And we went to, you know, Papa President Bush at the time, and we were like, Papa President Bush, you know, why did they attack us? Why did they hurt Americans? And he was like, well, son, they hate us for our freedom. They hate us for our freedom. Well, 10 years later, I guess things have changed, because now they want those freedoms. That's right. They want to become a democracy. A democracy. A democracy. A democracy. To understand what's happening in Egypt, you have to start back in December when an uprising happened in this other country called Tunisia. Now, if you don't know where Tunisia is a Muslim country that sits right on top of the continent of Africa. And what basically happened was that due to some leaked U.S. government documents, oink oink, WikiLeaks, the Tunisian people, who always suspected that their government was corrupt, found out for sure that their government was effing corrupt. And basically, their leaders were super mega rich, drinking loads of alcohol, which you're not supposed to do, and basically living the life while, you know, they're suffering through high unemployment, high food costs, poor standards of living, and they don't have freedom of speech. So when the people found out about this, they were really, really pissed off. To the point where one guy, he went to a government office for help, and when he was refused, he was just done, so he set himself on fire. Now, I know that that's extreme, but it kind of got the job done, because when people saw that, a couple other people were like, well, you know what? I'm not about to burn myself, but I'll definitely overthrow the government. And so that's what they did. They overthrew the government. They overthrew the government. Like, the guy that was in charge fled the country. Unfortunately, he fled with like 1/3 of the country's gold supply, but he still fled the country, and now it is theirs. They're going to become a democracy. Well, that's yet to be seen, but hopefully they know that they have the power to now. And so while, you know, that's happening in Tunisia, all the people in Egypt are watching. Now, Egypt, the thing about Egypt is one of the biggest and most populous Muslim countries in the world. The fact that the Egyptian people are rising up against their government and taking it over is pretty amazing, because all of the Muslim countries are watching this. And basically all of the other dictators throughout the region, throughout the Middle East, are kind of scared, because if Egypt is successful, they know that their people may do it too. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if the Egyptian people are successful in this and they get the democracy that they're fighting for? The Iranians would be like, hey, we got Facebook and we got Twitter too. Why don't we overthrow our government? Isn't that kind of what we want? Isn't that what we want is, you know, democratically elected Muslim countries? You know, that's what we said when we invaded Iraq, is that we wanted them to be a democracy. Well, guess what? These countries, we didn't even have to invade them. That's 2 countries down, more to come. You know, we as Americans should understand the Egyptian problem that they're having. I mean, because we have silly fights like, oh, the iPhone is the best phone. No, it's not. The Android is the best phone. And we fight about that and debate about that and write about that and, you know, have all these silly arguments about it. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think all sides can agree that we all want a smartphone of some sort. Well, guess what? The Egyptians do too. They're tired of their crappy flip-up phones that all you can do is, you know, press the number/letter button to text message. They're tired of that shit. They want Facebook on their phone too. They don't want to have to go all the way home every time they want to make a status update. That's not fair. That's not American. That's not democratic. And now it's not even Egyptian. But a lot of people are asking kind of like, well, what does this have to do with me? What does Egypt have to do with me? Well, think about it. If Egypt becomes a democratic nation where they can make decisions on their own and make Egypt a place where they want to live, don't you think that all the Egyptians that live in our country and all these European countries will want to go back to their own country that's going to become kind of awesome and have all the stuff that we have? Yeah. And then other Muslim countries around the area will be like, well, you know what? Egypt is Muslim. Egypt is, and Egypt took over and they're democracy and they're working out pretty well. I want to do the same shit. And so this whole thing about terrorism and this, that, and other, you don't have to have this anti-Muslim sentiment. Because let's face it, these Muslims are going to want to go back to their own countries that are going to become kind of kick-ass. So support Egypt. Support their fight for democracy. It's the American thing to do.